You see this jar? It's a swear jar, but it's not your typical swear jar. Most people get swear jars for swearing and using curse words. My jar is different. It's a science swear jar. My daughter made it for me when she was about 10 years old, and the rule is simple. Whenever I talk about science, when I've not been asked to, I pay the jar. As you can see, the jar is full, and it's not the first time. Over the last several years, this jar has been emptied and filled many times, because it turns out that I have an exceptional ability, although some would say annoying ability, to insert science into any conversation. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am, the person who pays the jar. I have 3 professional roles. I'm an immunologist, a medical educator, and a science communicator. In my first role, I'm an immunologist. That's a scientist who studies the immune system, the body's built-in mobile defense force that protects us from infection and disease. I fell in love with immunology in college. Listening to my professor talk about the complexity and the elegance of the immune system was mind-blowing, and I was hooked. And I've dedicated my life to immunology ever since. And I feel incredibly lucky because in my second role, I'm an associate professor at the University of Colorado Anschutz, and I'm also the immunology content director for the School of Medicine. And in that role, I have the absolute honor and privilege of teaching immunology almost every day. You see, teaching and being a teacher is the heart and soul of who I am. Teaching was the motivation behind my pursuit of a PhD and my career in science. And sharing my love, enthusiasm, and knowledge of science just fills me with joy. And that leads me to my third role of science communicator. For the past 21 years, science communication has been a passion project, something I've inserted into every spare moment of time. I've written blogs, op-eds, and guest commentaries. I've given talks at bookstores, coffee shops, and science clubs. I've recorded dozens of podcasts and shared hundreds of posts about science on social media. Trust me, if there's a way to share science, I have done it. But here's the challenge. Most scientists are like me. We live, eat, and breathe our science. And we want to talk to everyone we meet about it. But here's the catch. We're not trained how to translate our complex science into plain language, and our explanations don't always land the way we intend. You see, scientists like me spend years in training, but none of it includes science communication. Let me walk you through my journey into science. It all started in college with a 4-year bachelor's degree in biology, followed by 2 years in a biochemistry lab to gain real-world experience, followed by 5 years in grad school to get my PhD, and another 5 years in 2 different postdoctoral positions to gain even more lab experience. That's 16 years of training where every step of the way, I was rewarded for using the technical language or jargon of science. You see, scientists in training are viewed as promising by experienced scientists if we assimilate quickly, and we learn to speak the technical language or jargon of our fields as fast as we can, so we can sit in and listen to seminars, communicate with faculty and peers, and just engage in all of the scientific offerings. During our training, we are so focused on fitting in and becoming scientists ourselves, we don't really think about what we sound like to the people outside of our science labs and lecture halls. Let me give you an example of what it sounds like to be trained as an immunologist for years. Vaccines work by introducing an antigenic stimulus that primes the adaptive immune system, that facilitates the selection, activation, and clonal expansion of antigen-specific lymphocytes, which leads to the production of high-affinity neutralizing antibodies and robust immunologic memory to provide long-term immunity and protection upon subsequent pathogen exposure. Everyone got it? I'm now going to pay the... All right, Raise your hand if you'd like to hear that without jargon. That's what I thought. All right. Vaccines work by introducing a harmless version or piece of a pathogen like a virus into our bodies to give our immune system something to practice on, something to train fighting against, to build immune protection. I'm going to talk to you about it now in the context of the annual flu vaccine. So the influenza virus is basically a circle. It's covered in little spiky proteins. Those little spiky proteins need to be cut off the outer surface, like the virus is getting a haircut. And it's those little chopped up bits that go into making the vaccine. The rest of the virus, that whole inner circle that contains the genetic material and instructions for the virus, that's actually tossed out and not used in this vaccine. But after you have the annual flu vaccine, your immune system is trained, like a martial artist, to protect you from the actual infectious flu virus if you happen to encounter it out in the wild, like at a grocery store, at the gym, or maybe even a TED Talk. Your immune system is prepared and ready to defend you. Now, over the years, I've realized that we scientists are not as prepared as our immune system, especially when it comes to communicating what we do and why it's important. Since earning my PhD in 2001, I've reflected on all the barriers and obstacles that we scientists have to overcome in order to communicate our science. And I know firsthand because I've had to overcome all these barriers to get to where I am today. I'm going to describe it to you through the lens of promotion. Just like everyone else, scientists have certain criteria we must meet to keep our jobs and be promoted. Unfortunately, communicating our science beyond the walls of academia and beyond the paywalls of scientific journals is not part of that criteria. In fact, at most universities, science communication is not even listed as something that could get you hired or promoted. You're wondering why? Well, it turns out, just like anyone else, scientists have to show progress. And scientists show progress through generating data, publishing papers, and securing funding. And all of that happens in the lab. When scientists leave the lab to share their science with the public, we're leaving the space where our value and progress is measured. We're trapped in a system where leaving our labs to share our science slows our progress. And that's the paradox. Most scientists, we desperately want to share our science with the public, but we're not trained how to do it, and we're not supported. In a strange twist of fate, the systems designed to advance scientific knowledge for humanity have isolated it from the public eye. The problem isn't a lack of willingness. On the contrary, it's a lack of training and support. So why is this important? Why should scientists be trained and supported to communicate their science to the public? Let's all think back to COVID. And let's use this as an example as to why science communication is so very incredibly important. You remember the beginning, the confusion? The virus was new and spreading quickly. Mask guidelines were changing, and vaccines were misunderstood. And while we scientists were in our labs scrambling to learn as much as we could about the virus and explain the science, misinformation was spreading like wildfire, and it was wrapped in language that was simple and easy to understand and easy to share. And meanwhile, headlines and social media kept screaming, "Science keeps changing its mind." Well, here's the truth that no one told the world. Science changing is not a weakness. Science changing is a strength. Being flexible, adaptable, and responsive to new information and new data is a superpower. So let me flip the script. When science changes, it's not broken. When science changes, it means the process works. Responding to new evidence and new data sharpens our understanding and brings us closer to the truth. Now let me ground this in something you likely use every day, your GPS. You're in your car, you're driving, everything's fine. Suddenly, there's a crash up ahead. Your GPS instantly reroutes you. You don't throw your phone out the window. You do not accuse it of lying to you. You accept the update because it's based on new data. Science works the same way. Adaptability is not a flaw. Adaptability is a feature. But when we scientists don't clearly communicate the why behind things changing, people become confused and frustrated and mistrustful. And I get it. Right now, misinformation is winning the communication game, but it is not because it's right. It's louder, it's simple, it's easy to understand, it's easy to share. So you might be wondering, why did I decide to train myself in science communication precisely 21 years ago? I had kids. I remember looking down at my twins when they were born, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to describe my science, immunology, my first true love, to these little ones that I loved without all the jargon? It was at that moment in time when I decided to simplify science in general and immunology in particular so I could share it with these little ones that I loved. What we're looking at here is a drawing made by my daughter when she was about 10 years old, so around the same time that she gave me the jar. And what this drawing represents is just how much she learned from listening to me. So let's walk through the drawing together. At the bottom, you can see little green bacteria that she named Bill. I know. At the top left is a B cell. This is a prominent cell of the immune system. A B cell's job is to make antibodies, and you can see that it's flinging antibody arrows at Bill like an archer. In the center is a T cell. This is also a prominent cell of the immune system. This one's a killer T cell. It's going to make its way towards Bill, and like hand-to-hand combat, it's going to poke hole in Bill and kill Bill. Yeah. On the top right is a macrophage. That means big eater. It's the one with the long tongue. It's eating Bill. This is exactly how an immune response works. It's a heated battle between the immune system and the pathogen. This drawing is proof that anyone can understand complex science. So my communication journey began in earnest when I had kids. But imagine what we could do if scientists were trained communication skills at the same time they were becoming scientists in the lab. And that leads me to a big question that I've been grappling with for years. What would it take to turn this vision into reality? What would it take to break down the barriers and build communication skills into our graduate and medical education programs? Let me share my vision with you. First, we need to break down the barriers. We need to think beyond the walls of academia and beyond the paywalls of scientific journals. We need to create and embrace more outreach opportunities to the general public. We also need to integrate science communication training and skills into our graduate and medical education programs so that scientists in training are learning communication skills so that they can communicate their complex science while they're learning all of those terms in the lab. I envision that science explains itself the same way great cooking shows do. Think Great British Baking Show. They tell you what they're going to make, they show you the ingredients, and they walk you through everything that happens in the kitchen. The ups and downs, the surprises, the twists and turns, successes and failures, everything that happens. You see that dish being made as a process. You follow it as a journey. You see it while it's being made and at the end, and how amazing it is. Science could do the same thing. What if we encourage scientists to talk about their science throughout the journey, throughout the whole process, from the very first question through all of the experiments in the lab, the successes, the failures, the ups and downs, the twists and turns, so that everyone can understand that science is a journey, it's a process, and then reveal the impacts, the positive impacts that science has on lives. Why? Because science belongs to everyone. So it's time we open up our swear jars and relabel them as science communication to invest in curiosity and connect with communities. So, on the contrary to the way most academic institutions operate, communication is not a soft skill. Communication is the strongest tool we have to turn knowledge into impact. It's time that we add science communication training and skills into our graduate and medical education programs. Thank you.